Hi, welcome back. I'm Linda. Today I finished up an old goodie but oldie Bob Ross special, Mountain Sunset. Has some beautiful autumn skies, some nice trees with lots of color. Birch, a couple there, a couple there. Beautiful sunset in the lake, rocks. You're going to really like doing this one. So if you can follow along, paint along, get your paints out. So let's get started. Here are the oil paints I used. Liquid clear, titanium white, lamp black, phthalo blue, Prussian blue, Van Dyke brown, burnt sienna, red ochre, sap green, alizarin crimson, Indian yellow, yellow ochre, cad yellow light, and cad yellow red. And so now I'm going right into liquid clear, and I can't stress enough, very, very light coat. Exceptionally light coat. In fact, I even take a blue shop towel and go over the whole thing after I put the liquid clear on. I just wipe it all down just as much as I possibly can because it will make your paint run if you have the slide too much. It's just kind of tricky, but the more you get off, the better. Okay, I'm going into Indian yellow. I'm going to start making a sunset. Got a 1 inch there. I'm going to go all above the halfway, just going back and forth, keeping my lines fairly straight, brushing it in, working it in the canvas, working my way down just a little bit, and then down below the halfway mark, I've got another reflections, and go over a little more to the right than I did. I ended up adding yellow there. So now I'm going into alizarin crimson. It's a very strong color, so you don't need a whole lot. I ended up wiping my brush. Every time I would work it in the canvas, I'd wipe my brush. Seemed that that liquid clear is something else. If you got too much, you can tell it's just really kind of runs your paint. So I'm going to go down on the bottom section where the yellow is and just go all the way to the bottom. And I'm going to blend above, just blending, making sure you don't have hairs in there. Just working that in, softening it up. You can wipe your brush off a lot because you're going to feel that liquid clear under there. It does help. But boy, the paint does go on really nice because it makes it so slick. So I'm going into phthalo blue and a little white. I'm going to put some light blue sky above the alizarin crimson, little extra, a little darker on the corners. Just work the way across, blending, blending. Such a pretty color. And then just work your way down into the red a little bit. Just blend that in. And now I'm going to make my shoreline there, the water line. So we're going to have a pond down there, just right above the yellow and alizarin. Put that blue line up there, still just below the halfway mark. And then continue to come down the bottom right corner and just work your way over and do the same on the other side. I'm going into a little white, and I did bring some of that yellow over to the center. You see that more yellow, and I'm just lightening that area up. I'm trying to match the sun light from above. So now I'm Still have the white on my fan brush, and I'm going to make some little, oh, scraggly little clouds back there. Nothing fancy, just a couple of liner clouds, you know? The big old mountain's going to be kind of off to the side of that. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to add a little more interest with the corner of my fan brush, making a nice little row up, going upward. Then I'm going to take a dry uh, fan brush, just the corner, and I'm going to do underneath that, just the underneath part of that. Circular motions, and then brushing it up lightly. I may add another one, little circles just with the corner, and then with a clean dry, just buff the bottom part out. Leave the little top edge on it. Isn't that pretty? Okay, so the mountain, I'm going into Prussian blue and Van Dyke brown with a touch of black. I want it very dark. I'm going to start the edge of my mountain. I am slow at this. I'm very slow on mountains. I just take my time because I want to get the shape just right and scrape off that excess there because you're really not going to need it. Then I'm going to shape it going downward. Probably don't have enough paint on my palette knife, but I just want to be so careful. I want a nice crisp edge. You just pull that down as you're working your way down. And then add a little extra mountain peak here. Kind of make it your own. You can do your mountain however you want. I'm going to work my way down on the other side, stretching it, bringing that paint down. Scrape off as much as you can. Take a clean, dry 1 inch and pull that paint down. And then wipe your brush off every time. Tap it in a paper towel. You want to get that excess off. Now, I used a lot of color in this mountain, and unfortunately, my camera battery died on me. So the next portion you'll see my mountain is pretty much finished, but I will tell you what I put in it with a palette knife. There it is. I did a lot of various colors. I used burnt sienna, Van Dyke brown, Indian yellow, little red ochre, and cad yellow, little black, little white. Just shaped out my peaks. Just put a little roll on your palette knife and just bring it down gradually and just drag it down. And you don't have to be real fussy. I sure wasn't. I did a little highlight whites on the tips of my mountains and in the crevices. I think it came out pretty good. All right, so now I'm going into straight white. 'Cause I'm going to straighten out the bottom of that mountain. I want a kind of a misty feel to it. So I'm tapping some white, just tapping. And the more you tap, the lighter it's going to get. Try not to pick up any of that color. Tap your brush on some paper towel, dip it in a little more white, and just keep tapping upward a little bit at a time, and then pull up with your brush like that, and it'll look really good. Gives it a misty feel. Now, the second mountain that I've got is made up of phthalo blue, brown, and a little black. Mostly the blue, dark, dark color. phthalo blue, brown, and touch of black. So I'm going to make another one that's going to come right across in front of that huge mountain. Like I told you, I am slow, but I'm carefully etching out the edge. I want to make sure it's nice and crisp. Carefully pulling down that extra paint. And I put a little extra bump in that mountain too. Give it a different look there. Let's pull that down. Now I made a mark off to the left as to where I'm going to end up with this long mountain. So I'm going to guide my palette knife right to that point. Put another little bump in the center. Just shape it. Pull it till you get to that little mark there. And add a little bump or two at the end. Now take a clean dry. I've got a 1 inch. Pull that paint down. Just pull it down. And then wipe your brush off. Because you don't want to bring it too much into the yellow. Now I did highlight that mountain at the end with a little bit of phthalo blue and white on my palette knife. I just did the tips of the mountain there in that real pretty icy blue, and it really came out pretty. All right, so now I'm bringing some of that dark color into the water and making a shadow. You might even want to grab a little of that same color if you don't have enough above there. And just pull a little bit down into the sunlit water there. Just a little bit. Not more than, I'd say, not more than a 1/2 inch, but just bring it down a little bit. I'm going to continue on to the other side, and then I'm going to make the shadow part of that mountaintop. That's going to come down a ways, not all the way to the bottom, but it's going to come down a ways, kind of angling it off. Okay, so I'm going to go into a little cad yellow and sap green. I'm going to make a real pale lime green. Almost yellow green, touch of yellow there. But I'm just got a little fan brush and I'm making some background trees way in the distance. Just carefully right above the lines with for the shadow in the water, just above that. Because that is where it's the bottom of the mountain. And I'm gonna have make some trees down there. So I'm doing the light color first, just pushing with my fan brush, pushing it up a little, squiggling. I'm gonna go in the same color and just thicken that center part up a little bit. Just thicken it up. Just want a little more of a free mass right in the center. So I'm just tapping away there. So now my palette, I've got my palette knife, got Van Dyke Brown. I'm doing a little small roll. I'm going to create a landmass right in the middle of that yellow there, just above the water line there. Gonna make some dark brown, looks like land back there. Just gonna go just below those trees a little bit. Now I've got a little darker green, a little darker sap green and yellow, and I'm gonna create some trees on the right, because that land is gonna curve around, and there's gonna be some trees there. So you can bring that down into the shadow part a little bit. And you can highlight the tops of those with a little yellow in there. but I want to make sure that you can see those pines or whatever they are. They're just trees there on the right. Okay, so now I'm going back into the brown, Van Dyke brown. I'm going to make a little landmass over there too, right underneath uh, where the tree line or the trees is, right below that. Okay, so I'm going into a little white, straight white on my roll. Get a nice little roll on there, and I'm gonna create another uh, water line. It's right underneath the brown that we just added. It's a little water line, and that's gonna come down right kind of on the shadow part. Just squiggle your knife around. Okay, now I'm going into the sap green and yellow, making it a little greener now. A little greener as it go in the back behind those yellow trees. I'm gonna make some pines, and they are greener, and I'm just going downward motion with my fan brush. Or you can go lift upward. It's well, however you want to make those little pines. Okay, now I'm going into brown and a little bit of yellow or burnt sienna. And I've got the red ochre, but you can add a little red to your brown to get that pretty color. And I'm going to start making some trees on the right or the left there. I know. I hate spoiling that. Now I'm using a round brush, but you know what? I changed out. I'm not crazy about the shapes that I'm getting, so I'm just going with my little 1 inch there, and I'm going into my Van Dyke brown with a little touch of red and a little bit of burnt sienna on that. So now I'm going to tap my way up. I think I like those a little better. I'm going to go just about to the top and I'm going to arc over a little bit because there's going to be a few trees there. And I'm going to come right down or stand. You can get up and stand back and look and see where you can add. Okay, I've added a little bit of alizarin crimson, just a little bit with a touch of burnt sienna. Just putting a little color in the tops there. And I do end up at the end of the series here putting some cad yellow and a touch of yellow ochre on the ends of my tree leaves up there, just on the right side of that big tree. Okay, so now I'm going into a darker Van Dyke brown with burnt sienna, basically the same color as right there above. And I'm going to start putting in a little landmass right there. Just tapping and I'm looking at one of Bob Ross's mountain sunset, so I'm kind of gauging after that. But I am making it my own, adding a little more color to the trees. Okay, so I'm going to the other side and I'm putting a landmass over there. It looks pretty red. I've got a lot of burnt sienna in that. This is just groundwork. This is just groundwork there. I'll be putting some trees in there and make the bottom a little darker, add a little of the Van Dyke brown. Now with the brush, I'm pulling that uh, edge of that little bog or whatever you want to call it, and bringing some shadow down into the water, and then pulling across just a little bit. Okay, with a little Van Dyke brown, touch of black, I'm going to put in some trees. And I've got a little uh, flat brush. Works really good. I'm just going to start at the tree line there where the water is. That's probably where I'm going to start. And then I'm not going to go all the way to the top with these. I will with the bigger ones. They're not real big. Put like three or four. So that one there is a little bigger. Narrows as it gets to the top. Now I'm making a big one right there. I widened that up. I didn't want to cover up that side of the mountain. Now on the other side, the right side, same paint. Van Dyke brown, the little black. They don't go all the way to the top either. Those they're tall, but they're not all the way to the top. And I'm not making them really, really big. Okay, so now I'm making a sap green and yellow, touch of yellow ochre with a little yellow mix. Tapping in my brush. I'm going to put some bushes right around those trees, just tapping lightly, very lightly to build the little bushes down there. And be sure to leave some dark areas in there. I know you can get carried away making those. They're so much fun. Okay, a little brown, Van Dyke brown. I'm going to try to make some rocks. I'm not really good with a palette knife and rocks. I think I change out to a brush. There, yes, I did. Brush works a little easier for me. Let's get the brown, Van Dyke brown, touch of black, and just put in just some subtle rocks here and there. And that's kind of at an angle, so slope there. So make sure your rock and make one down by the water. Now I'm using yellow here, yellow and white. I kind of regret that because I went back and I used more burnt sienna and a little bit of yellow ochre because I thought it was just a little bright. When I got done with this, I stood back and thought, gosh, that's too bright. So I did change that, and I think it looks a little better. But you do the same thing with those colors that I just mentioned with the palette knife and just kind of wiggle it over the rock. All right, so now I'm gonna make some more bushes. A little bit of sap green, yellow, and yellow ochre. Just trying to blend in a nice color there. Not too bright. And I'll tap in some bushes. And if your paint doesn't want to stick, add just a little bit of thinner. I add it to my brush, and then I wipe my brush off a little bit, and I go back in the paint. It's just enough. Because thicker paint won't stick to a lot of heavy paint on your canvas. You need to have a little thinner paint, and then you'll get some nice effects. So I'm going back behind the tree in between, putting some foliage in there, lightening up that dark area, coming forward, leaving some dark areas in, but I'll define around those trees better. Now I'm using what they call a little scruffy brush, kind of dewberry scruffy. It's a 3/4 inch. They do sell them on Amazon. I really like that brush for making leaves and in small, tight spots. Really makes some nice shapes. And I do switch over to my 1 inch, but it's a handy little brush to have. So I'm highlighting here and there a little extra white on my yellow. It's just highlighting the tops there. The sun is hitting that area. Okay, so I'm gonna add little water line, tiny little roll to white. Just gently go around the rocks and maybe just hold your brush fairly with your wrist toward the canvas and just gently just push it on. And then you can use the smaller end of that palette knife too for tight areas and just squiggle it in. Okay, I'm making kind of a marble effect with the white and Van Dyke brown, just a little bit. And I'm going to start putting some highlights on those, I think they're birch, but I'm just pulling the palette knife off to the side, letting some of those colors go on the bark. And doing those, they don't have to be perfect. You want to add a few lighter areas and then dark areas. Leave those darker areas in there. And same with the others. Give them all a little, just a little pull of the palette knife. I'll be putting leaves on those trees, so they look kind of bare right now. So, and same with the right side. Just kind of tip those trees, their trunks. Okay, now I'm got my little liner brush and I made my Van Dyke brown touch of black really I should say like ink like because that'll really help make nice little branches if it's not runny but you know got a little bit thinner on it. It'll just flow a lot nicer. And while I've got the dark brown, I'm going to start making some little arms on those trees. Kind of here and there. And I will be putting some leaves on that with my 1 inch, going into a little bit of yellow ochre and touch of, it's a touch of burnt sienna, just touch. But I am going to put leaves on those trees. Uh, Bob Ross didn't on his painting, but I am. So, um, I wanted them to look alive. So I'm putting some branches, little arms on the big one too, even though some of them might not show, but still gave him some arms anyway. So now I've got the burnt sienna, yellow, a little bit of yellow ochre. Looks like I've got a touch of orange there. And I'm just tapping in, following the arms a little bit, tapping in the base color. I am adding yellow, shad yellow with a touch of white on the outside edges of that tree, on the leaf. A little more yellow. That is Indian yellow, by the way. That's Indian yellow next to the yellow. It looks orange from here, but it is Indian yellow. Um, so I'm proceeding to go ahead and put some color on those trees. I'm going to go on the left side, just tapping in. With my 1 inch, which is working really good today. I almost see a finished painting here, but you'll see I do add the yellow and little yellow and white on the just on the inside of that big tree. There you can see it just on the inside, the water side of the tree, and I added some on the other two trees. A little bit of yellow, a little bit of yellow ochre. So I think I've got a complete painting here. I really enjoyed doing this one. I hope you do too. So until next time, happy painting and God bless.